everyone, it's your girl Candace, but y'all know I go by Coach C, and we are continuing on this whole girls career road trip. This week I thought it would be good for us to actually go ahead and start talking about annual reviews, because whether or not you know it, the first of the year will be here and like that. And so getting prepared, especially this being your first year, or maybe you may be going into your second year, you want to make sure that you're prepared for that. But it's important to start right now preparing for those annual reviews. So let's just get right into Let's get into this. For the first step, it would be preparing by gathering the data. And I just don't mean like reports and anything like that. What I mean by that is you want to look at each team member's, their performance, their achievements, and their challenges. When you think about their performance, you want to think holistically when it comes to them as an employee, not just what you see from a report. And so that is including their adherence, their attendance, when it comes to the expectations of their role. If you are not familiar exactly what those are in detail, this is an opportunity for you to go back and review their actual job description and what is expected of them, so you can understand exactly, was this a challenge or was this not? But this is a time for you to go ahead and start gathering all that information. And let me be honest with you, if you are having to do that right now, you are behind in the ballpark. But don't feel bad or anything like that, because it's your first year and you're trying to get your footing. Everybody goes through that. I'm gonna tell you right now, I didn't do this as a first-time leader at all. But as I got older and tenure in my role, I understand the importance of doing that throughout the year. Because really, when you're doing it throughout the year, especially you're bringing up these topics throughout their one-on-ones, I always like to say is that your annual review shouldn't be a surprise. And if it's a surprise, then there's something that you as a leader is not communicating to your team. So go ahead and start gathering that data. So going into the next one, you want to think about their goals. What goal do you want your team member to actually focus on as we are approaching into the new year? And if you don't know exactly how to do that, what I would definitely recommend is the whole SMART goal setting tool, which is an acronym for specific, measurable, achievable, relatable, time bound. This way you are able to articulate exactly what it is that you want them to focus on, and for them, you've actually entered into their GPS for them the direction that you want them to head, and it's very clear versus them having to figure it out on their own. So thinking about exactly what goal that you want them to focus on as we move into the new year. Once you did that, going right into the next point, what I had mentioned earlier is about those achievements and challenges. You want to actually go back and reflect and look and see exactly what those challenges they had and what achievements they had, and show them on paper their progress. So one of the things is that I like to use when it comes to moving into this, into actually reflecting back on their progress, is the sandwich method. Some people like it, some people don't. I think that it works for certain individuals, but basically what it is that you do a positive, a constructive feedback in the middle, and then end with a positive. So for instance, if you say that, hey, your attendance, your attendance started off the year really, really good, but then in the middle of the year, that would hit some slumps where you had several occurrences that happened. However, after a conversation, you were able to improve that and to begin meeting the expectations of when it comes to your attendance. You see, it's a sandwich method where it was positive, constructive feedback, positive. But what I did is I was able to reflect that, hey, this was a challenge that we had throughout the year, but after a conversation, you actually worked on that and we ended up into the next step. I'll be honest with you, I dreaded doing this step here, which was crafting up constructive feedback. By far, you don't want to sound subjective or emotional, because you know your team. You know how they are. If you have your one-on-ones with them, you know exactly who you're dealing with. You don't want to allow your emotions to take over. So one of the things that you can do is go back to that first step where I said when you identify their achievements, their performance, as well as their challenges that they've had throughout the year, and use that as your starting point, your whole foundation as you begin to craft out and draft out their feedback for them. Because what that does is that you are now coming from a place where you're providing facts. It's topics that they should have actually been told throughout the year. If not, I'll help you out at the beginning of the year about that. But it's things that they should know that was happening throughout the year. And basically what you've done is you've summarized their whole year. And that's really what if you really want to think about it, it's a summary. It's a summary of how they performed. All right, this is the last step. Action plan. You want to make sure that as you are crafting up their review, at the very end or somewhere in between there, you want to make sure that you have an actionable item for them to do. And really, honestly, it should just be a continuation of where you left off from their last 101. So December 2023, wherever you left off in their last 101, whatever they were working on, you can actually insert that in there. That typically, honestly, that's the way I used to do it, is that wherever I ended their last 101, I would insert that and say, okay, this is what we're going to continue to work on as we move into 2024. That there, it lets them have a clear understanding. And honestly, you just inserted into their GPS the coordinates of where they still need to continue to go. And for them to know exactly what it is and their next steps for them to do, that is setting them up for success. So don't leave or don't forget, as you are finishing up your first annual review, to make sure to include the actionable steps. All right, girl, that's it. That is it for this week's leadership tips as we continue on this whole girls career road trip. Don't forget, every Wednesday, 5 p.m., I'm dropping tips just for you. All right, start doing your annual review, like right now. Not tomorrow, right now. All right, see you next week.